Hi, everybody, and welcome to Community Cleric. It is my very special guest. I have been trying to get Joe on, I think, since the beginning. I think I messaged you like
I
right in
think you
January
hyped
when I
me.
started.
Honestly, you have Obo Lauren on here. I am small peas right
Look,
now.
she was on a couple of weeks ago. We're not, I actually should say she's on in a couple of days, but we're pre-recording this a couple of weeks in advance. So look, we've moved on. Brighter things with Joe. I am excited to talk to Lauren in a couple of days. Obviously, you and Steve introduced her to me. Let me play in a one shot with her for Jasper's Game Day. I'm sure it was a Jasper's Game Day charity.
Yes.
Yeah.
Yes. Yes.
On Vancouver by Night, of which you are one of the masterminds. Correct? Is that how we're phrasing that? I know it's like Steve's thing, but there's no.
See,
I know how much you do.
I don't have a title. I don't give myself. I'm kind of like the I would say I'm going to use the term entropy wrangler. That is a term that's stolen from one of my very, very good friends, Tanya, who's been working in basically the same organization as a office manager for like 20 years. And she is essentially she calls it their entropy wrangler because she basically moves things around and she makes things happen. So for me, it's just like I'm behind, like I'm in one game and I'm behind the scenes for everything else. Don't have my fingers in all the pies, but I try and make sure the trains run on time, if that's the term. And sure. I know that that's not necessarily the best term to be using, but
I mean, look, as a DM on the channel, I have seen how much, like, for sure Steve is like conducting, and I love Steve. I adore Steve. If I was to ever have guys on Community Cleric, he's at the top of my list of dudes to have here. Wonderful, wonderful person. But I know how much you do, so I'm comfortable with it. So as long as you're not uncomfortable with it, I'm going to say you're one of the brilliant people behind the Vancouver by Night brand. And so if you don't follow Joe at Hyrule Gardener, I'm certain that I spelled it right in your set. I sent you a picture of your set. You would have.
You did.
Because I know I've spelled it wrong before, but it's spelled wrong here. Hi, everybody. Welcome to Community Cleric. Now that we're several minutes in, I am Sarah. I am the Community Cleric here at Girls Run These Worlds, and I am privileged to be recording from, and let's see, this is airing September 1st, so I will be back in Mi'kma'ki, the traditional and unceded territories of the Mi'kmaq people here in Nova Scotia, Canada, but we're pre-recording this because I'll have just been back. Because I'm actually coming out to see Joe in person for like the first time. I've known you for like a couple of years, but like the first time in person, not quite a couple of years, a year and a bit. But I'm super excited to come out. We're going to be in Squamish and Musqueam territory, in BC and Vancouver, which I guess shouldn't be a surprise to anybody. That's where you live, right? Because Vancouver by Night.
Vancouver is awesome.
Vancouver is awesome. That is what we were talking about pre-stream. Joe, I ask the same. I know you've watched this show, so none of these questions should come as a surprise to you.
Probably not.
I ask the same questions to everybody, but I'm super interested to hear your responses. So my first question is always, how did you become a nerd?
My dad is an electrical engineer and my mom went basically to school for software programming after, many careers, and it's a really long story. But so I kind of grew up around math and everything else. And yeah, that's about it. I was the kid in high school who had to hide the geekiness a lot of time and in grade school because, not really the popular position to be in. But I mean, once you embrace it and you can't really go back. So
I think that's true. I think definitely. And why would you? Being a nerd is, I think, one of the coolest things. When were you a book nerd growing up?
Oh, hell yes. Oh my God, yes. I mean, I would blow through books. I had a library card and they told me I couldn't take out any more books. Like I would be like a mass stack of books. And they told me that that I had reached my maximum for that like limit. And I was upset. This is me as a little kid, obviously. Like, I mean, I did things like we had Battle of the Books. Our local library put it on for the grade school kids, and that was something that I did. And it's such a long time ago now, but yeah, I mean, I've gone through my phases where I have read nothing but textbooks for years on end because of what I do, but I am still a book nerd. I am still, yeah.
And were you a fantasy book nerd or a sci-fi book? Like what were your genres?
So, I mean, I've gone through phases. I've gone through I like elven things phases. I've gone through my fantasy phases. I mean, I will admit I've read Nancy Drew. And I've also read Nancy Drew's Canadian equivalents too. So the various Canadian equivalents of Nancy Drew that are there,
of course,
the brother and sister teams and all that stuff. Oh, for the life of me, I can't remember.
There was some that we got for my daughter. They were like the Magic Treehouse stuff, but they were like the Magic Sled or.
I have looked this up before. I know I have. There was like something about Montreal, like they basically did it in various cities. You know what? I'll get back to you on that one at some point. But yeah, there's like the Canadian equivalents thereof. So yeah, I've gone through the various phases. I do like my space sci-fi. I am a big fan of the Expanse books. I do read a lot of Neil Stephenson, and his books just keep getting bigger and bigger. So it's kind of if you actually get a hard copy of a Neil Stephenson book, you might as well just be like using it as a free weight at this point. So
I think maybe like by like 5th or 6th grade. Okay, so it's funny because here's where I'm going with this. I know you guys. You guys are Vancouver by Night, a Vampire the Masquerade, mostly channel. But you do a variety of other content, Changeling, one-shots, D&D, famously, because that's where I got involved with you guys, was 2 of the D&D streams that you have on the channel. And I've never played Vampire. Not that you guys haven't been very generous and offered, but I don't really like scary. I'm so fucking squeamish. But I think some of the thickest books that I've ever read are Stephen King books. And I can't tell you why I could read I think there's cognitive dissonance, because I can read a book and because I have aphantasia, I can't make pictures in my brain. So it's just like the words. It's not, I don't know. It's real, but it's not coming alive to me. Whereas like when I'm talking to you or when I'm seeing other people, hell no. Any show that I produce will tell you that when my camera turns on to like warn them that it's break or show's over, my face, I do not have a poker face. And so I think that's been like, I don't know, horror. So my question is, do you read horror books?
I am not reading any currently and haven't read any for a while, but yeah, I mean, I've read my share of Stephen King. When I was a kid, my mom was not entirely happy with me. I was reading various young adult horror books, Christopher Pike, let's not age myself, but yeah, Christopher Pike, I believe, R.L. Stein, but like Fear Street or whatever, things like that. Yeah. So I've read my share of horror books, and yes, I did like horror books to a certain degree. I mean, there was a certain degree to which I was like, yeah, this is too gratuitous or whatever like that. But for the most part, it was okay.
Right. Fair enough. And so then how do you get into TTRPG? How do you go from nerd to TTRPG nerd?
So you have to take the step from just nerd into theater nerd.
Hey, all right.
So I mean, I took drama in high school. I had no ambitions of being any sort of actress or anything like that, but it was fun. And it was like a change from, oh, I'm taking physics and I'm taking math and I'm taking all of this and I'm taking French or whatever. You know, drama was kind of a release. And so I loved improv. I really enjoyed improv. And my boyfriend at the time introduced me. He said, you know what? Why don't you try playing mage with us? And it was stupid amounts of fun. I loved playing mage. And so for I don't even remember how many sessions it was, but we played a small campaign and I loved it. But then, you know, things got weird and changed. Whoa, sorry. Things got weird and changed. And obviously that, you know, you break up and you lose that group of friends kind of thing, what happens in high school. But I loved that. So I played a bit of AD&D in college in the dorms, but it wasn't something that I really pursued very much. I still really loved Mage because, oh my God, it was fun. But then I played Vampire for the first time. And let me tell you, I swore that I would never, ever play Vampire again. I refused.
Really?
Yeah, no, I played Vampire. I played with it was all politicky and like it's not that I have to have a lot of action because I love the RP. I love improv, right? But it was basically just too politicky. It was just like there was no, it didn't feel like there was any action. It was boring. And I was like, I really don't like this. This is just not my thing. You know, RP all you want, but this is not fun. It's weird. So I swore I would never play it again. You know, fast forward, meet Steve. Steve's been playing Vampire for pretty much his entire life. I mean, I exaggerate, but he's been playing a lot, like for pretty much since Vampire came out, he's been playing Vampire. So he for years tried to convince me, but there was no group in Toronto or anything like that for us to play with. And I still had no desire to play. And then I will fully admit I watched an episode of LA by Night, got hooked, had no time, but at some point while we were watching LA by Night, I was like, well, what if you do this kind of character doing this and this and this? And he's like, well, that's actually entirely possible. You could do this X, Y, and Z. And so I started building out a character that I had no intention of ever playing.
Awesome.
And then he convinced me to do a guest spot, and I did. And then it kind of spiraled from there.
I love that. I mean, first off, nobody has time really for TTRPG, but we all make time. It's a good hobby to have, right?
Yeah.
And so do you prefer, because I know World of Darkness is massive. Have you played like all of the other versions or I don't know,
I've
rule sets?
I've played Vampire. I've played Mage. Obviously, I have the very thick 20th. I don't get to play Mage now because there's no Mage going on, and you know I can't storytell. And I know I can't storytell, so I need somebody to storytell it for me.
We will do a Mage short mini series just for you. I will find somebody. I'm gonna greenlight it. We're gonna make this thing happen.
Awesome. But I mean, I played in the Changeling game for a while, but I came to the conclusion that basically, and I was really, really upset about this because I really wanted to play Changeling, but I had to turn around and say, I can't do this anymore. I can play one game and the occasional one shots, you know, the occasional charity game, but I can only commit to one weekly game because I just don't have time. I work, I go to school, and there's just not enough hours in the day for me to actually devote to doing another game, especially since with World of Darkness stuff, we pretty much always pre-record. I mean, we used to do it live. We pre-record now. It is a lot easier and
do
a
you
lot
think
better
it's easier?
Yeah, actually. I mean, it's nice to have the interactions and stuff like that. And we do that for like charity games because most of that's live. So we do have, you know, live vampire live vampire charity games, but it is so much easier to pre-record because it gets really heavy. and you want to take a
Mm,
break.
right.
And I mean, you want to make sure everybody's comfortable, and you can do that in a live game, but I feel more comfortable speaking up when it's not a live game. And a lot of people are the same way. So I definitely feel more comfortable speaking up if something's uncomfortable, during a pre-recorded game. But I mean, the other thing is people do some really strange things during live games. And that's something that you try and avoid.
Yeah, I guess, and again, because, I haven't played in the World of Darkness setting, and I mean, you've seen Fandolin by Night. I tend
Yeah.
to DM like a hero's arc, kind of, not that we were family friendly, we were not a G rating because of the swearing, but, and I guess I killed more characters than I think everybody else put together, all the other storytellers put together. But, I think I tend to lean on the kind of lighter stuff, and so I hadn't considered it from that perspective of the table safety.
Well,
Um,
I mean, table safety is 100% during a live game. You can absolutely have table safety. And it is actually even more important that you put up those red cards, put up
yeah.
those yellow cards, do all of that during a live game.
Hmm.
But for me, I guess I should probably rephrase it to the comfort level speaking up. I'm not necessarily even in terms of table safety, but people who are in front of a live audience can sometimes act differently than they would if there's basically nobody watching. And I mean, there have been situations that I've seen that on a live stream, somebody just says something that as a channel doesn't represent you as a channel.
Mm.
Um, and you want to make sure that anything that is coming out of your games is something that you feel comfortable broadcasting.
Hmm.
So, I
Yeah.
mean, that's more of the safety thing that I'm thinking of, because table safety is 100% important to be doing, whether you're live
Hmm.
or whether you're pre-recording or whether you're, at a private home game. 100% the most important thing.
Yeah, 100%. And I will say, like, I need to give you some major props because, starting Girls Run These Worlds, I had done some one shots for some other shows, but really the only stream and the only real channel that I had been involved with was Vancouver by Night. You guys set the bar so high as to what a channel could be, and like I always go back and quote Steve in that a rising tide raises all boats. And that ultimately at the end of the day, there is room enough for everybody. Tabs are free. Google doesn't charge by the tab. Have all the tabs open if you need to have the tabs open to support everybody. That's amazing. And so one of the things that you guys started doing, that I loved so much, it was like an instant ad for Girls Run These Worlds, is a monthly check-in form that goes to like us as founders that the DMs don't see, not because we don't want the DMs to see it, but because we need to know what's going on our channel, as you just said. And also, I maxed out my captions. I have to let it reset.
No worries.
It takes a second. And then also, we sometimes people will say stuff and let you know things that are going on. And then you can step in, not from a place of like somebody's in trouble, but from a place of like, hey, let's solve this together. And I think, especially on a channel like ours where it's not a group of friends who play together regularly, we're constantly bringing in new and refreshing voices. It takes a long time to build table relationship to the point where you feel like you could say something. But if you have a channel ownership that you trust, you might go to them and say something. And so there's been like several little things. It can be anything from like at the beginning, we like the purpose of our channel is to promote women and femme presenting stories first and foremost. That's like in the title, that is what it is. We have also recognized that there is a space there for marginalized genders who are sometimes in situationally femme and women presenting, but that's not their whole identity. And so like trying to like figure out where are we making space for that while centering women in femme presenting games. And so yeah, that comes directly from you guys, because you guys set the bar so high, and I've said it before on Community Cleric.
I honestly, there's the way that I see it is that there's no room for pedestals in this industry, and it is an industry, but there's no room for pedestals because everybody has made mistakes. I know that we have. I know that the most important thing is to try and make positive changes, to see what you have done and try and make positive changes. But any amount of putting people on pedestals, we had somebody who was basically we had guesting for just a charity, and they were like, oh, we're so excited about playing with you guys, we adore you guys, and blah blah. And I'm thinking to myself, oh my god, I'm like, and it's not so much that it's a bad thing, it's just that it's like, please don't put us on a pedestal, because we are not without fault, we are not perfect, and nobody is. And that's sometimes in the TTRPG space that becomes a thing, and then you see your heroes crash down, and you see things like just people that have consistently and constantly had nothing but good and whatnot suddenly come out and say something that you're like, oh my god, I can't support that sort of thing. So I mean, yeah, pedestals are something that I do not approve of in this industry whatsoever.
Yeah, and like, I don't know. I definitely don't want to make you or Steve ever uncomfortable. But like, there is due respect that needs to be put out there for a variety of channels, of which you guys, I think, are one, and that you guys have aligned yourself with other great channels that are trying to do the right thing. Like, not that you don't make mistakes, we all make mistakes, but when a mistake is brought to your attention, you're not going to double down on it. You're not going to like try and force your way through it or push past it or ignore it or sweep it under the rug. I have seen you guys just act with integrity, and I will continue to speak highly about it. And it's why I'm bringing like our second season of Fandolin by Night is
so excited about that. Oh my gosh, so excited, because we've been waiting for months.
I'm so excited. Look at my poster is like sitting here ready to go back up on my wall. Okay. So you TTRPG, mage, and then Steve got you into vampire. When did streaming, I think I know the story, but tell me anyway, when did streaming start happening for you guys?
Steve started streaming when he first put together a vampire game, when he put together the first roots of the Vancouver by Night game, decided to stream it because he had seen LA by Night do it, and he could probably explain the reasoning behind it better to you, but he felt that he could promote the game, because in essence, that's, if you're streaming a game, that is what you're doing. You're promoting the book or the splat or whatever the case may be, depending on D&D or whatever. You are really promoting that product. I mean, essentially you're giving free advertising to the company whose stories you're telling. And it basically, streaming actually became incredibly important when the pandemic first started, because nobody was going to be in the same room together, no matter what. I mean, Steve started out with Vancouver by Night we're in the same room, but that basically changed very, very quickly because the pandemic pretty much hit right after that. So I feel that streaming is a way to advertise these products, because some of them don't get necessarily enough love. And I feel like it's, if the various communities, I say community loosely because there are different viewpoints on that, but if the various communities are advertising these products, and if those products, whether it be World of Darkness, whether it be D&D, Pathfinder, if they are able to get a revenue because people see you playing that game and they're like, I want to play that at home, then that benefits those companies, and those companies can then produce more books. More importantly, this is for when you're working with small, or you're working on smaller like smaller rule sets, or not smaller rule sets, smaller publishers. It's far more important then, because they definitely don't get enough love.
Yeah, I know that we have done several one shots for, like small, just single person who writes their stuff. And we always give them like the MP4 also as like part of our waiver system, that we can give that MP4 to them to put on their like itch channel, so that, or like on their itch page, so that people can see what it looks like when it's played. And I know several, we did, there was one called Sapphic Slumber Party, which is like a 10-minute game, but the phenomenal cast expanded it out to like 90 minutes. And the developer came back and said it was the most copies she ever sold in like a day. We hadn't contacted her. We didn't tell her we were doing it. But like we tagged her in all of the advertising and stuff. And yeah, it was just, it's really nice to know that you're getting out there and like supporting that. And I'll say like Onyx Path has been super supportive. We've got a Deviant the Renegades, which is part of the World of Darkness. And they were like super supportive of us running it, and supported the cast with free PDF copies of the rule set for the cast that didn't have it. And like, it's great to see publishers support streams who are supporting them,
Absolutely. I mean, the company that created the Cult series of books is really, really good about supporting streamers, and actually like sponsoring streams as well. Like that is super important, because we honestly, it's one of those things where there is not a lot of money to be had, and it has to be a passion project, but being able to pay people more than, just dividends is really nice.
Yeah, we our financials are all transparent. Like again, that's another bar that you guys set in making those financials transparent, that we wanted to do. And like, we're not even really talking we're 120 days in. We're not even really talking Starbucks money at this point, but just for people to see, this is the reality. This is all of the receipts. This is all of the income. We're not keeping any of it. I think there are people who don't realize how very unglamorous the financial side.
Absolutely.
Absolutely.
The funniest thing about all of that is that anybody who looks at the financials in terms of transparency would think, okay, well, we are at a point where we are paying players when they get to a certain threshold. We divvy up everything, all of the income sources. So whether that be Twitch, YouTube, what's the other one? Threadless, any of those sources, we put that money towards the players, all transparent spreadsheets, players all see it. They all know what's going on. However, it doesn't even begin to cover the costs that we have in order to actually run the streams. I mean, things like internet, things like, character art. We don't have character art for the most part, because we honestly know that we want to pay the artists, and we can't do so. We did so for Adjacent, and we were hoping to do so for some of the other streams, but we haven't had the funds, because that comes out of my pocket. Yes, like guests. Because we have the way that we work with guests is generally because our players will get, and as we build up and stuff like that, our continuous players get money, but those people that are with us for that one game or whatever will not. So we instituted a policy of, okay, if we get a guest, we pay a guest. There are a few times that doesn't happen, and it's usually by agreement, or previously has said, I want to be on the show, and things aren't perfect, but that's basically what we do, and that basically comes out of my pocket. And the reason for that is because I want to make sure that people get paid, and I see this, for me at least, in the same way that I see photography, because I went to school for photography. I, as a freelancer, could not afford the cameras that I needed to do my job. But now that I'm working something that is completely unrelated to that and very much completely unrelated to TTRPGs, I am in the privileged position where I'm actually able to set aside some money, budget some money, and put it towards those hobbies, put it towards paying guests and stuff like that, because to me, that's important.
That's actually a really good way of putting that, is for so many streamers. And like, I'm talking so many streamers, channels where there's multiple casts running shows. Either it's the person who's running the stream, who like owns the stream, that's in everything, and they're really the only person getting money, and they're maybe making a few $100s a month if they're very popular. But really, I think people don't understand. It takes 40 subs a month just to make payout, right? Like just to and that's a lot. That's asking 40 people to give you, you know, hard-earned cash. Even if it's Prime, they're paying for Prime. And you know, Threadless is like $8 a t-shirt. It's not, you know, you're paying $30 for, well, 60 if you're Canadian, $30 for a t-shirt, and you know, the person's making 8. And so I think, you know, being transparent about that is important. I could talk to you all day about the business side, but I want to get to the other stuff too. What other games, we were talking about other games, and you mentioned Cult. What other games do you play?
Right now, this is the only one that I play. And the main reason for that, as I said, is time constraints. I can either play a game on stream or I can play a game in person. I can't do both.
Okay, so let me rephrase. You win the lotto tomorrow.
Oh,
you win Lotto Max
kids on
tomorrow.
Bikes. Kids on bikes.
Really?
Anita ran, Anita being amazing. Critical misses Anita. Anita, they ran a game for our 24-hour stream or 24-hour stream. They ran a Kids on Bikes game that was basically kind of vampire Bunnicula based, and it was so much fun. Like, I mean, it's not like I'm craving playing an 8-year-old or something like that, but it's a lot of fun, and I'd love to be able to do it again. That's definitely one of the things on my list. And I think that it's also because everybody was very, very much into the game, and that made it a lot of fun. But beyond that, yeah, definitely would want to play Mage. I wouldn't mind playing a bit of D&D, because I just generally don't, because the setup time for D&D in terms of creating characters and stuff like that is a lengthy process. And again, time constraints. But I wouldn't mind playing some more D&D. The most recent D&D that I played was Vampires Do D&D, which was meta.
So amazing.
Well, I mean, that was actually a product of several weeks of the Delve into Darkness crew going meta, because I mean, the World of Darkness is set in real life cities for the most part. Anyway, it depends on how you're playing the game, but for the most part, it's set in real life cities. So it also lends itself to doing real life meta. So basically, there were a lot of, like, the character that I play has a lot of co-workers. Like, she has a day job, so she has co-workers who are inform her of stuff like Critical Role and other stuff like that. So these references, we should play Critical Role as a team building exercise in game, saying this. We should play D&D because Critical Role does this. And Princess of Character at one point said, this seems like something that Mage Hand would be, good with, or something like that. So we were making references for weeks, and I was trying to get a game running, and then Kat kind of just had the same idea at the same time. And I know that Stitch of Fate has done it as well. But at the time, I wasn't even aware of Stitch of Fate having done it, because I was so behind on all of my podcasts. Like, I didn't know that Stitch of Fate had actually done this when I was thinking of it. And then Kat came out with the idea, and she wanted to play test this idea because she wanted to run it at a conference. And I was like, okay, Kat, let's do this. And then Steve and Kat connected, and so it was just a lovely, lovely little mess. It was beautiful.
So for those who haven't seen, although we're gonna put a link to the YouTube, I'm sure that it's on your YouTube. We're gonna put a link to the episode here in chat. You guys are sitting at, well, it's, you know, Zoom, so you guys are virtually sitting at a table playing Vampire the Masquerade. So storyteller Steve is your storyteller, but your characters are playing D&D, and one of the characters is the DM. So yes, the DM is DMing a game, but Steve is still storytelling on top of that.
Technically, yes and no. I mean, Steve's actually playing an NPC that he created that is a well-known NPC to the group, and decided to join this team building exercise that the group is doing at their local comic book store, kind of gaming store. So yeah, it was interesting.
It was so fun. And then Kat went and did it at a conference, right?
Yep.
And successfully. I think I remember seeing like it was wildly successful.
And she also did Changelings do D&D. We actually we figured, you know what, let's beat that. Let's go. Let's beat that. Yeah. You know, let's just do it as much as we can.
A winning idea, you just keep going with it.
Well, it was, yeah, I mean, it's, yeah, in Changeling, it got even more interesting because one of the characters actually works at a comic book shop, or worked in that particular group of Changeling. Yeah.
Amazing. I love that so much. Have you ever, or would you ever LARP?
I have LARPed. I don't know how quickly I would do it again because, I mean, the health situation that we are all in is not really that. I mean, everybody is welcome to do their thing, but for me, I am not comfortable LARPing just yet again.
When this is all over, you would go back to it?
I would consider it if there was something that was nearby. Or if it was special enough, you know, I wouldn't mind traveling. There are LARPs that happen in various castles in Europe. I'm not even talking D&D in a castle. I'm talking like I think there's one in Poland in one of the castles there. I think there's one in a German castle. So I wouldn't mind doing that.
Those would be fun. I heard, like, when I think of LARP, I think of like the traditional kind of Dungeons and Dragons fantasy style LARP. Yeah. But Mirlock Kaya is not, I don't think she's Mirlock anymore. Kaya was on, and she was telling me like of Regency LARP, like they do like Bridgerton. I know now there's the Bridgerton experience, but this was before Bridgerton was a thing. And like, it sounded so good. Which I mean, I don't know. I grew up like, not that my parents ever were cool enough to play like those, you know, murder mysteries where you get all of your couple friends around. I think that would be so much fun. I would love to do something like that.
Yeah, that would definitely be a lot of fun.
Okay, for my gotcha vampire, the only Vampire the Masquerade question that I know, the only trivia that I know about Vampire the Masquerade, give me your 2 cents on the Tremere.
It depends which of my characters you're asking, because I have done one shots in various, like in, you know, 4-shot sessions where I have played things other than Tremere, and they are the hated of all hates. But as a Tremere, I think it's really, really cool because Steve let me do something with my Tremere that I was really, really stupidly happy with. He actually let me import, shall we say, something from the previous version of Vampire, which is that Tremere have different paths. And because I had built a huge backstory for my character, like when we were doing this building of this original character, I did a huge backstory, so much stupid research, and I'm like, so how is it possible for me to use Tremere magic to do like technology stuff? Like, can I homebrew something? Is like, you don't have to homebrew it. And then opens up the book and shows me, and I'm like, yes, I love that you can make technology into a vampire magic power.
That and that fits you as a person so well also. Right? I love that. I mean, this question came about because I originally had Sarah, MC Diabetes on, and she was trying to explain to me the clans and the Tremere and why the Tremere are the best. And I think you were there that night. The hate that blew up my chat.
Yes. Oh, absolutely. Okay, so as I said, if you ask me for like if I am in character, any of the other characters that I've ever played in one shots or otherwise would tell you how awful the Tremere are, the usurpers, etc., etc., etc. But Tremere are so much fun to play because you get to have the magic portion of say D&D or whatever. You get to have spells, essentially. You get to have rituals.
Right.
You get to have all this fun stuff that you can do and still be a vampire kind of thing. So it's yeah, they're so much fun to play and I love them. But
I mean, eventually I'm gonna just have to, somebody's gonna have to run like a PG, like a super light PG version for me to come in, because I have this like Molly Weasley mom character that's a salubri, and so she has bangs to hide it, and she's basically just like an office manager, and I'm excited to play her. I just need the right tone of campaign or miniseries to come and play. Have you seen, and it's okay if you haven't, they have redone Interview with the Vampire as a miniseries? Have you seen the trailer for this?
I have not seen the trailer for this. I think, or maybe I have it. I just don't remember. Shit. It's been a week.
It looks, I mean, it may have been out for longer than a week. I just caught it the other day. It looks so damn good. Okay, hold on. I'm going to have to Google who is in this person because, Fire TV show. It's on AMC, and oh, come on. It's the year 2022, and he lives in Dubai. And he's like a biracial black dude from the American South. And I am so, it looks so good. It looks so fantastic. I am really. And they have a dude who looks exactly like Anthony Bourdain, which was really jarring for me because I was like, when did they, have I been out of the loop for a while? It's interesting. Go watch the trailer when we're finished because I'll be interested to hear your take on it.
Yeah, I will definitely do that.
Did I hear you say earlier that you don't DM or storytell?
No. I know my weaknesses, I know my strengths, and that is something that I know that I do not want to do because it's a lot to keep track of. And I just don't think that that's something that I would be good at. And it's one of those things where I'm willing to go out of my comfort zone, but definitely not live, definitely not on stream. Maybe with two people in front of me, I might consider it, but yeah, no, it's not for me. Yeah, not for me.
I wonder, I'm going to have to ask a vampire because when Sarah was on, she had done, I think they were like in the middle of filming the first season of London is Bleeding. They hadn't quite finished it yet. So I'm going to have to ask somebody and find out like, and especially somebody who's been a D&D DM, like Steve might be a good person to ask because I just make shit up all the time. But I wonder if I wonder if D&D is just a more forgiving setting in that way, whereas Vampire is so, even if it's not politics, it is so built on one layer. Like you can't check out. You have to be paying attention.
Yeah, I mean, Steve has told me that the thing is, I don't know anything that is going to happen in the next session of our game. This is a line that we do not cross it. But I do know that things are always going on in the background while we're doing something else. He knows which NPCs he has doing what things, because eventually that'll come around and bite us. If we don't interact with an NPC or something like that this session, 3 sessions from that NPC will come back and bite us in the butt somehow. That's kind of one of those things where there's always stuff going on in the background. So it is a lot of layers, and it is something that I am not capable of doing. I know that for sure.
Interesting. Well, if you ever do decide to like do just a little one thing, I'll be part of that. Can you tell me what is your favorite NPC that you've ever come across in a game?
I honestly, the raccoons in Changeling that Cliff DMs, because they were only supposed to be like, he didn't even realize that they were supposed to be there. Changelings are chaos goblins, and we just started feeding them, and they became friends, and that became a whole thing. And I felt like they were the perfect NPCs that had basically come out of nothing. They were never supposed to be NPCs, so I think I love them very much. But vampire wise, my favorite NPC is Abigail's car. I mean, it's now Abigail's car, but it's basically, the car is essentially Christine. So the car is a baron, an anarch baron that has been turned into a car, a bloodthirsty car by mages, and he takes care of us. Like, the car takes care of us on occasion. Like, we don't bring him into every session, but when we do, he takes care of us. It's honestly, I would have to say that is probably one of my favorite NPCs.
I love that so much. Okay, I forgot to ask you before we got started if you have any dice that you want to show off, because I know Vampire uses its own set of dice. But I'm curious, what are your favorite dice? What are some of your, and I know you have some really pretty trays.
Oh, trays. Yes. Dice wise. Yeah. I tend to use, just D10s for Vampire, since I do have a few sets of D&D dice, but I am an oddity, and I am not a dice goblin. For me, if I'm gonna buy dice, it's usually because they've got something weird and kooky in them, like, I don't know, ducks or something, or odd duck dice specifically.
Shout out to Rosie.
These, I don't know how I can do this too. Okay,
usually if you put your hand really close and then get it up behind, but it might be just the, oh yeah,
there we go. Okay, so these are D10. They are pointy D10s. They have butterflies in them, and those white things in the middle, those are skulls. Oh, see, now my camera's.
Oh yeah, now you're all fuzzed.
Now I'm all fuzzed. That's what I was worried about.
I'm sorry.
It's okay. It'll eventually get itself back. I think maybe if you give me 2 seconds, I will see if Zoom will do this for me, but I very much
you take a second, because I am going to future Sarah go and throw Odd Duck Dice links in the chat, because I have ordered several custom sets. I ordered a set for our friend Sean because he has just this most amazing character in Phandalin, and he did something he wrote the music actually for Community Cleric and wouldn't let me give him any money for it. So I had Jazz's address and I sent him dice through Jazz.
Nice.
And so I commissioned him a set, and then I commissioned myself a set, and Rosie sent me an extra set just to be nice, of practice set that she was working on, and I love them. They're gorgeous. While you are,
this is not working out. Okay, give me.
It's actually not that crazy for like I don't know. It's hard to tell on OBS, because it's so small.
Yeah, it's being okay. So normally,
if we go close and then bring it back.
Yeah, that's not happening today.
No,
that's okay.
Of course.
So I will be nice and blurry. I will be Ghost Joanna, and that's cool.
We're actually like nearly at the end. There's only a couple minutes left. So, what other questions must I absolutely ask? Oh my gosh, there's so many. Who are some other people? Who are some other people in kind of Twitter and TTRPG that are just good beans that you think people should know about?
There's a lot of them. There's
so
basically
many.
there's the entire crew at Martlet, who are just the most amazing beans. There's the crew over at Rolling D's 20s. Shout out to them. They are amazing. And Prince, their storyteller, can definitely weave a tale.
Yep.
In terms of really good peeps, Obo Lauren, obviously, I love seeing videos of her playing her oboe.
Yes.
Because it feels like she's just, I love it when
so
people
happy.
are passionate about things. Yes, exactly.
Yeah.
And then, just the best moral compass in TTRPG Twitter is Jennifer Kretschmer. 100% the best moral compass you will find on TTRPG Twitter. She is an incredible person, and the pandemic has basically, I think, been a catalyst for a lot of people and a lot of things. And I think that she brings a good voice to the disabled and immunocompromised communities. Like it is a necessary voice, and it is good to have her.
Right. I love that. We are going to drop those links in the chat here. I can't let you go without talking about Zelda.
Oh.
So talk to me a little bit about Zelda. What was the first system? Was it on a Game Boy? What was the first time you played Zelda?
First time I played Zelda was on a standard Nintendo, the original Nintendo. I fell in love with the music, fell in love with the game, and I'm a completionist, which means that I tend to not be able to leave a game unless I've uncovered all the secrets, which is why I took the handle Hyrule Gardener, because I tend to cut down all the grass. I will cut every single blade of grass in a Zelda game until I find all the treasure. that is just what I do. And again, I love the music from Zelda. It is, for me, soothing. It's nostalgic, but it's also just this, I don't know, it's a force. When Steve and I got married, we went with a very geeky wedding. So things like, and let's see if this will show up. Yeah. Things like this.
What?
This
Candles,
is
candle holders.
Yeah. So basically what we did was we knew how many tables we were going to have at our wedding. And so we chose various geek things like Star Trek, Star Wars, Zelda, what else? Babylon 5, whatchamacallit, Battlestar Galactica, things like that. We basically had all our different splats, Game of Thrones, and we basically, our friend Michelle has a brother who is a mechanic and has a sandblaster. So we sandblasted a whole bunch of square vases because we wanted our geek thing, but we still wanted it to look elegant. So this is my personal favorite, is this, because that wedding also involved lightsabers, and we paid the one big splurge was we paid the band at University of Toronto. We paid their music department to compose music for us. So Steve ran down the aisle to the theme from Indiana Jones, and I walked down the aisle to the main theme from Zelda. So we had a band playing the Zelda music, and it was, so basically for me, Zelda is it's something that you breathe.
I love that. I love that. That perfectly sums us up on a nice, hopeful note, because that is the end of all the time that I have, although I could stay and talk to you for so long. Thank you for being my guest, Joe. Thank you for agreeing, because I have been trying. So thank you for agreeing.
I honestly, the way that I see it is, I am not only small beans, but this is not my primary career. This is not something like, and I love it that people have this as a stepping stone to the various artistic careers that they want to involve themselves in. But for me, this is pure fun. I work with Steve to manage VBM because it's a lot for one person to do on their own, but for me this is a release, so I don't feel like I have a lot to say. I am not the kind of person who is an inspiration on in the TTRPG world. I'm like that's the way I feel about it. It's just like I don't have that. I have that kind of disconnect, and it's not like I'm not putting myself higher than anybody or anything like. It's just I'm kind of disconnected from it in that way. So.
Well, you know, I mean, I started Community Cleric with just a couple of people that I knew, like, you know, just the people from our streams, really, because I think that there is like every woman and femme presenting person who is a nerd has some stories to tell, and we hear so many of these profiles on guys, and so I really like that I get to tell these stories from very big to I haven't told a story yet of anybody super small. My daughter would like to be on it, but only if she can use a VTuber model, and so that'll be a fun day for me because you know she's 13. Twitch is not going to be super keen on her being on the stream, but nonetheless, I am excited for you to have been here with me tonight. So thank you for your
having
time.
me.
And I will see everybody next week on Thursday, September 8th. That feels so weird to say. And I will have a guest, but I haven't booked that slot yet because we're still a few weeks out. So surprise, you'll find out who it is in chat right now as I'm typing it. Thank you, Joe, for being with me. Please say hi to Steve. I'll see you next week. I'm super, super excited. Thank you, everybody, for being here. I don't know if we're rating or not because I can't remember off the top of my head if Harsh Realms is still... Nope, Dark Rites is on Thursday night. They might be right after us. So either go to the raid that I'm going to set up or don't. And stay with us here on Girls Run These Worlds for Dark Rites, which is a Deviant the Renegade stream. And we will see you very soon. Thanks, everybody.
Thank you.